Hey, what's up everybody? It's strategy. Let's talk about making some serious money by predicting the last digits in the Volatility 100 index. Now I know what you're thinking. Predicting the stock market is like trying to guess what I'm thinking right now. Nearly impossible. But trust me on this, we're not trying to predict the whole market, just the last digits. And there are patterns you can learn to give you an edge. If you want to improve your accuracy in digit matching, you're in the right place. Let's get started. This first method is called the X2X method. X2X basically means we're looking for a sequence where the number 2 is sandwiched between two identical numbers. Think of it like a 525, a 424, or an 828, you get the idea. The first step is to actually identify this pattern when it pops up on your chart. Let's say you're looking at the Volatility 100 index and you see the numbers 1237.27 followed by 4565.05. The key here is that 2 sandwiched between those two sevens. That's your signal. Now the next step is to figure out your last digit prediction, or what I like to call the LDP. It's way simpler than it sounds. Look at the digit that comes right after your X2X pattern. In our example, the last digit after the pattern is a 5. That means our LDP is 5. But hold on, we're not done yet. We need to know when to actually make the trade. This is where the open position signal, or OP, comes in. To get your OP signal, look at the last 2 digits of the number where you spotted the pattern. In our example, that's 27. Now, subtract 20 from it. 27 minus 20 equals 7. So your OP signal is 07. What do you do with this OP signal? You wait. Keep an eye on the index and wait for 07 to appear in the last 2 digits within the next 8 to 10 ticks. When you see it, that's your signal to make your move. Now remember, this is just one strategy, and like any strategy, it's not foolproof. But if you master this strategy, you'll be one step ahead in the game. Alright, moving on to our next strategy, and this one is called the X2Y method. It's similar to X2X, but with a slight twist. Instead of having identical numbers surrounding the 2, we're looking for 2 different numbers. Think 324, 526, or 728, anything where the 2 is the middleman. Let's say you're watching the Volatility 100 index and you see the numbers 8633.22, followed by 1200.60. See that 2 nestled between a 3 and a 2? That's the X2Y pattern we're looking for. Just like before, our next step is to figure out the LDP. Remember, that's just the fancy term for the last digit after the pattern. In this case, it's 0, so our LDP is 0. Now for the OP signal, or when to actually make the trade. Focus on the last 2 digits of the number where the pattern appeared. In our example, that's 22. Subtract 20 from it and you're left with 02. This, my friends, is your OP signal. But there's a catch with this one. This time, you're not just looking for 02 to appear by itself. You want to see it when the last 2 digits of the index add up to 02. For example, you might see 83, 74, 56, 11, and then finally 02. Here's the kicker to increase your chances of success. The number right before those last 2 digits should ideally be a 1 or a 9. So you're looking for something like 1.83 or 9.83 with those last 2 digits eventually hitting that magic 02. This strategy might seem a little more complex, but trust me, once you get the hang of it, it can be just as powerful. Remember, practice makes perfect, so keep an eye out for those X2Y patterns and start mastering this technique. Let's dive into strategy number 3, which I call the 2XY method. This one's a bit different from the previous 2. Instead of looking for 2 in the middle, we want it right at the beginning. So think 260, 273, 289, you get the picture. For our example, let's say you're tracking the Volatility 100 index and you see the numbers 2652.62 followed by 3749.09. Boom! There's our 2XY pattern 26 sitting pretty at the beginning. Now let's find our trusty LDP, the last digit after the pattern. In this case it's 9. But hold on, for this strategy we're going to do something a little different. Take that last digit, 9, and multiply it by itself. 9 times 9 equals 81. The last digit of that result, 1, becomes our LDP. Next we need our OP signal, which is a bit more involved this time. We're on the lookout for one of these specific sequences. 90, 26, 64, 26, 0, 9, 17, just 90, or just 26. These sequences can appear in any order, so keep those eyes peeled. Once you spot one of these magical sequences, that's your cue to make your move. The 2xy method might seem a bit more complex, but trust me, with a little practice, it can be just as effective as the others. Alright, let's move on to strategy number 4, which I call the 84x method. This one's a bit more specific. We're looking for an 8 followed by a 4, and then any other digit. So, we're talking about numbers like 840, 841, 843, you get the idea. Let's say you're analyzing the Volatility 100 index, and you come across the numbers 8,478.40, followed by 3,953.28. Bingo! That 84 right at the beginning is exactly what we're looking for. Now, to figure out the LDP in this method, we're going to do a little math. Take a look at the digits on either side of the decimal point in the number where the pattern appeared. In this case, it's 3 and 8. Multiply those two together, 3 times 8 equals 24. The last digit of that result, 4, is our LDP. Okay, time for the OP signal, and this one has a couple of options. Option 1, take the numbers 44, subtract 28, and then subtract 16. So it's 44 minus 28, which equals 16, and then 16 minus 16, which equals 0. Your goal is to wait for that final number, 16, to appear. Option 2, take the numbers 44 and subtract the sum of 2 and 8. So 2 plus 8 equals 10, and 44 minus 10 equals 34. In this case, you're waiting for 34 to show up. Keep your eyes peeled for either 16 or 34 to pop up on the index. Once you spot one of them, that's your signal to make your move. The 84x method might seem a bit more intricate, but trust me, with practice you'll be able to spot those patterns and capitalize on them. Alright, on to our final strategy, the 94x method. This one's very similar to the 84x method, but instead of looking for an 8, followed by a 4, we want a 9 followed by a 4. So think 940, 941, 943, you get the drill. Let's say you're watching the Volatility 100 index and you see the numbers 9,415.48, followed by 1,231.36. There it is, our 94x pattern right at the beginning, 94. Now to figure out our LDP, we're going to do a little multiplication again. Look at the digits on either side of the decimal point where the pattern appeared. In our example, that's 1 and 6. Multiply them together. 1 times 6 equals 6. So our LDP is 6. Finally, let's find our OP signal. We have two options here. Option 1, take the numbers 46 and subtract the sum of 3 and 6. So 3 plus 6 equals 9, and 46 minus 9 equals 37. Keep your eyes peeled for 37 to appear. Option 2, take the numbers 46, subtract 36, and then subtract 16. So 46 minus 36 equals 10, and 10 minus 16 equals -6. Don't worry about the negative sign, we're just looking for the last two digits, which is 16. Focus on the index, and watch for either 37 or 16 to appear. Once you see one of them, that's your cue to make a move. So there you have it. 5 powerful strategies to potentially predict last digits in the Volatility 100 index. Remember, these strategies are just a starting point. It's important to practice them, understand how they work in different market conditions, and even adapt them to your own trading style. And most importantly, before you even think about using real money, test these strategies out on a demo account. Get comfortable with the process, see how they perform for you, and then when you're ready, you can consider dipping your toes into live trading. Be quick, be accurate, and most importantly, be smart about your trades. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, like, subscribe, and comment below with any questions. Happy trading!